Yes, our next fic is one of mine. It is the first chapter of an ongoing novel set in the Hiveswap universe. Specifically, it's set after most of the trolls have hit the age of ascension. It's pretty compliant with the Hiveswap canon universe, with some modifications. It's not really designed to fit in with Hiveswap Act 2, but anyway. I've been writing about 1 to 2 chapters a day, so if you want, you can start reading it now, and I will probably finish it before you do.
Is that a threat or a promise, Jonaya?
Yes.
It's a challenge.
We've got three voices in this: a narrator, Skyla, and Connell. And I am going to read the narration. I would request that Anna do Skyla, and I would request that Bucky do Connell if they want to.
Ooh, that would be fun. Yes.
Yeah. I have headcanon voices for these characters. So yeah, this is an ongoing fic I've been writing. I'm up to chapter 32 right now. There's a lot going on. We're not going to make this an ongoing thing. I just wanted to read the first chapter of it because we're also reading another novel that I wrote on our regular streams. So this is Homestuck and Hiveswap. It's a Hiveswap fic. It's got a ton of ships in it, several of which are very rare. We've got Ozdaja and Connell, Linera and Branya, Tizius and Stelsa, of course. Zebra and Chixie are in a relationship which is abusive. Don't worry, that ends better than you'd expect. Elward and Skyla, Daraya and Linera, Chixie and Zebra are technically together, but it's an abusive relationship. Polypa and Tagiri pale, Tagora and Gallic, Skyla and Connell pale, Elward and Daraya, Elward and Chixie pale. Yeah, a lot of ships in there. It's got all the Hiveswap characters, pretty much. I mean, a lot of them, not all of them. But and yeah, it's a revolution fic. At 10 sweeps, the young adults of Alternia prepare to take their place among the stars as loyal servants of the great Alternian Empire. Whether they want to or not, they will fight for the promised glory of conquest, and die alone in worlds that hang thousands of light sweeps from their home. Throughout the Empire, there are rumors of a slowly rising tide, a flood of the disaffected, the downtrodden, and the oppressed. They have been biding their time in secret, taking hold in the low places where the Empire doesn't care to look, silently preparing and training and planning. And yet, not all is as it first appears. There are an ensemble cast of familiar characters in the story of the last great Alternian rebellion. This is a delightful abattoir. For those who are not aware, an abattoir is a slaughterhouse. The story does have general trigger warnings for the material in the tags, particularly violence and depiction of an abusive relationship. There are a few chapters with specific trigger warnings, which we won't be reading any of right now. So the first one doesn't have any of that. Chapter 1, Whisper in the Dark. The First Night. The third sweep of her impassioned, imperious majesty Trisha Tethys, South Alternian Regional Training Compound, 320 hours local time, 1820 hours Alternian Universal Time. Country Lady 453 began chatting with Cull for Hire at 0320 AST, 1820 AUT.
Donald, are you up? Please tell me you're up.
Bucky died.
Rip.
Wait, fuck, I'm still on push to talk. Let me turn off push to talk.
Yeah.
I had it on because the dog was in the room whining a little while ago, but I don't need it on anymore.
Sound effects.
You have gotta be fucking kidding me! How in the hell did you get this number? I swear to God, if this is a Black Rom thing, I will fucking kill you!
What? Oh god, no. Empress Alive, what the heck's in your think pan?
Then why the fuck are you doing this at 3 in the morning?
I didn't know who else to talk to. You're the only other person I know who's got slapped with ground duty. Did y'all go off planet yet?
Wait, is this a goddamn Pale Crash thing? Are you for fucking real right now? I don't have time for this! We have to be up in an hour and a half!
I know that. So do I. And no, this is not a Pale thing. Empress fucking damn it. Excuse my mouth and all that.
Then why are you messaging me?
Because I'm fucking scared and I don't know who else to talk to, okay? Because I wasn't ready for this. Because I'm fucking 10 sweeps, and I thought this would be exciting, and thought this would be an adventure, and...
Skyla Kariga put down the palm husk she was typing on, and the white-hot tears that she'd been struggling so hard to keep back started to burn out of her eyes and drip slowly down toward the utility-grade cot she'd been assigned in the bronze barracks. Maybe calling them barracks was being too charitable to the low, half-decaying buildings made of moldering old bricks. Maybe. Skyla didn't care.
And what? What the fuck do you even want from me? You're not ready for your duty to our empire, then good for you. No one wants to be doing this. My mate sprays in fleet training on the Green Moon, and she might as well be on the other side of the universe. No one fucking likes this. We do it because we have to. So maybe shut the fuck up and let me get another hour of sleep before I have to fucking drill all night.
They killed Lady, you absolute piece of shit. You know they did, because they did the same to you. Or, if Ulysses was already dead, they did it to someone you know. Or someone you care about. So how about you get the fuck off my bulge and fucking let me have this?
Fine. Just go somewhere private. I don't want anyone noticing it, thinking we're pale or something.
As quietly as she could manage, Skyla slid her feet off the edge of the cot and pushed the thin blanket she'd been issued aside with only the faintest rustle of cloth. Her bare feet padded silently on the ground. She wasn't going to bother with putting her boots on. Not when all she was planning to do was head out behind the barracks building and cry for a while. She wouldn't need her boots for that. The barracks was shared with at least a dozen other bronze bloods, all sleeping uneasily on the same cots with the same rough, taut canvas that always hurt to sleep on, no matter how you happened to lay on it. They were told that they'd be provided with proper respicoons once they deployed, but Skyla strongly suspected that was just another one of the lies that the aging olive-blood sergeant had told them when they first processed in. He couldn't even be bothered to be there in person. The feed was piped in via drone video. Most of their instructors so far had been drones. Once they went off planet properly, they would probably at least see other trolls. Probably more olive-bloods. The army seemed to favor them in particular. One step up from the cannon fodder that was the rust and bronze bloods. But not high up enough to be treated any differently. Not high up enough to keep their loci. The tears were threatening to come back again before Skyla was even out the back door to the barracks, threatening to not just return but fully overtake her, until she was a crying mess on the floor, and then she'd surely wake the others, and they might have questions about why she was currently walking outside in the dead hours of the morning, with her palm husk clutched so tightly that her knuckles faded white from it. With a choked swallow, Skyla walked faster, and in another few steps she was at the door to the barracks. Carefully, she opened the door, constantly mindful of the way it would squeak if pulled the wrong way. On the other side, the humidity of the South Alternian summer twilight hit her. It was just getting dim enough that she could be outside, but still light enough that the sudden shift from the dimly lit barracks hurt her eyes. Skyla flinched, but didn't make a sound. Only once she was through the door and it was closed quietly behind her did Skyla give herself a moment to relax. She leaned up against the side of the barracks and squinted down at the palm husk. Country Lady 453 began chatting with Call for Hire at 0327 Alternian Standard Time.
There. I'm all outside and everything. You actually willing to talk now?
I can't believe I'm fucking doing this. I hope you're not near enough that someone is gonna come along. I swear to Empress Imperius, I will find you when we're deployed.
Okay, fine. I'll go over to the latrines. Is that okay with you?
Oh, you're gonna take me out in the back like a real pale slut, huh? I'm laughing at you right now in case you can't tell.
Skyla gripped the palm husk even tighter and growled under her breath, the anger at the olive blood's attitude momentarily eclipsing even her own grief. 1 week of training. 1 week she'd been pretending to be okay when inside her heart was constantly breaking. If she showed that emotion, she cried when it happened, and the drones beat her for it. And the other recruits watched in shocked silence, because what else could they possibly do? What else could anyone do but watch in stunned silence and shuffle along, filling their role for the Empire? She wanted so badly to scream, wanted to let all that frustration and anger and hurt out in one loud, primal yell that would wake everyone, and it would alert the drones. And maybe she could argue that she was just out to use the load gaper in the latrines, and maybe they'd beat her, or maybe they'd beat her again. Or maybe they'd just kill her, because it was simple, and it was easy, and no one really knew how the drones decided what they did. The ground was still hot underfoot as Skyla pushed through the humid air and walked to the path out to the latrines. In spite of the ostentatious name assigned to it, the Regional Training Command was little more than a half-swamped stretch of old farmland that had been converted into a glorified holding pen for recruits that had yet to be assigned to their off-world training detail. They were forced through grueling physical training every night, then shuffled into the barracks to sleep out the Alternian day cycle in relative peace. Except peace was something that never really came, because all of them had the same specters haunting them. The first things the drones had done was kill their Luci. Some of the others said they thought it was because their Lucis had tried to stop the recruitment drones when they arrived. Skyla knew this wasn't true. Lady had been happy to see the drones for some reason, thought they were there to play a game or something. And the first thing they'd done was put a kinetic bolt through her think pan. Skyla fought against the tears and the rage and the screaming inside of her again. She was almost at the latrines now, almost behind the berm of loosely piled dirt that would give her at least some vague sense of privacy. Not that the privacy would make anything feel any better, but at least then she could cry. At least then she could curl up and talk to the one person whose name happened to be in her contacts, who might have at least some sense of how she was feeling right now, even if she was mostly just telling herself that Connell was genuinely listening. At least she hadn't blocked her yet. That had to mean something. Country Lady began chatting with Call for Hire at 3:22 AST.
Fine. There, I'm almost at the goddamn latrines. You happy now? You willing to just at least let me vent to someone?
Are you sure that this isn't a pale thing? I've technically got that quadrant open. If you want this to be a thing. Not a serious thing, of course, but maybe.
I'm really not in the mood to talk quadrants right now, you hear? Didn't you listen to a damn thing I said?
Sure. Poor Rusty lost her precious Lucis. Poor Rusty has to join the army. Poor Rusty has to live just like the rest of us. God, look at me now. Talking like I'm black for you.
Please, just stop.
Skyla reached the mound of dirt that qualified as the barest nod toward privacy. A way to use the gaper and maybe pretend for at least a second that you weren't in the world you were. That maybe things were better. You were just out back because walking back to the ranch house would take too long. Your Lucis was back at home, relaxing in the house and waiting for you, and you'd head back once you finished up in the fields and whip up some fresh-baked grub loaf and just forget where you are for one solitary moment. Half hidden behind the berm, Skyla finally let herself cry. Country Lady began chatting with Call for Hire at 3:34 AST.
I miss her so fucking much.
Oh, please. Get over it. Like none of us have ever had to deal with pain before. You'll never last on deployment like that.
I don't want to last. I don't want to do anything right now. I don't know why I keep going.
Look, I know I said this could be a pale thing, but I was fucking with you, okay? I'm not gonna lead you on like this.
I don't care anymore.
Without typing another word, Skyla threw the palm husk down into the muddy dirt, staring at the words blazing in the screen. Words that looked back up at her accusingly. I don't care any... Oh, this is a Skyla line, sorry.
I don't care anymore.
She said it out loud, and she turned back to look at the barracks. The sun was almost completely down now, and soon it would be time to get up and try to scrounge some time for grooming before the first round of PT in the morning. She couldn't stop crying.
Don't care anymore.
And without warning, she was lifted off her feet, and then she was falling back, her face hot and her ears ringing. Skyla had never seen a concussion bomb go off before, never realized how quickly everything would happen, never imagined how the building would go from existing to not existing in the blink of an eye. She hit the dirt hard enough to knock the wind out of her, and instinctively, unthinkingly, she began to roll back away from where the barracks had been, away from the stretch of mud-sodden ground that still contained a series of barracks for rust and bronze bloods that still had... The second explosion didn't throw her in the air, but it hurt. A wave of pressure hit her, and she felt like throwing up. She tried to bury herself down in the mud, completely ignoring anything but the need to get away from whatever came next. The third explosion knocked her unconscious. And for a time, Skyla Kariga didn't have to think about anything.
Damn. I like read this recently, but still, damn.
Yeah.
That's such a good fic.
Thank you very much.